The next thing we read in Psalm 137 as the Israelites wept in captivity is that they longed for their enemies to be destroyed. Verse 8 says, Babylon, doomed to destruction, happy is the one who repays you according to what you've done. In other words, I'm going to take great joy when you get what's coming to you. And many of us struggle with this type of attitude in our lives. When we are in exile, when we've been hurt, when we're in chains, when people have oppressed us and hurt us, we long for the day to see them hurt, long for the day to see those people destroyed, repaid for what they've done. In fact, some of you might remember the TV show The Mentalist, where the main character spent the whole series longing to take revenge on the one who had hurt him so badly. That was the whole driving force of the show. And sadly, many of us live this way. We can't wait to see our own Babylons or captors repaid according to what they've done to us. But I want to remind you today that the Christian ethic is different. Jesus came along and said, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. Can you imagine a Jew in exile praying for those who persecute them? That was the Jesus way, not taking delight in the thought of our enemies' destruction, but in fact mourning if our enemies die without having met the God who can save them. I'm convinced, friends, that if an enemy of God dies, God is not thrilled to get the chance to punish them. But I'm convinced that God weeps at a child of His who went in the wrong direction in life. What about us? Are we thrilled at the thought of our enemy's death and judgment from God? Are we thrilled at the thought of revenge? Or are we mournful when those who need God the most die without Him? Maybe it's time for you and I to identify a few enemies in our lives and start praying for them, praying for their salvation, praying for God to move in their lives. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all God's people prayed not only for their loved ones, but for their enemies, as Jesus suggested? Let's not be like the Jews in exile, longing to see our enemies killed. Let's long instead for our enemies to find God and find redemption. Because remember, even the worst sinner can find redemption when they come to God in faith. And may it be that our prayers bring even the most evil ones to God, so that they can find the great redemption and forgiveness that we have.